I'd like to do is I'd like to take you on a hopefully brief personal journey. Some of these images of developing Beijing from the time that we first moved there in 2001 might overlap Henry's take on it architecturally, and certainly the developments that we've seen happening there since 2001 to 2008, basically. We opened the gallery. Well, let me step back a bit here. I became interested in critical ideas and possibilities of Chinese contemporary artists being able to display their artwork and have a forum for their voice, their concepts, and their perceptions since, I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years, about 3 or 4 years before I moved to China. I don't know why that happened, but it just did. I had an instinct about it, and I suppose if I had been more in the forefront of this, I would have been channeling Uli Zig and his taste since 1974, but of course I was a little bit too young to do that. So therefore I had a very active interest in involving myself in Chinese contemporary art, and wanted to actually open an Asian contemporary art gallery on Chungking Road in about 1998, 1999. And then we had an economy that fell. I was studying Chinese language and culture at UCLA, and Bush was elected, and my choice, I remember at a family gathering, I was telling people I was either going to open my own gallery or I was going to move to China, and I moved to China. So we still have somewhat of a presence there. I have a home also in Beijing, and I'm just going to take you back a little bit to a few of the images that we remarked about when we first moved there. I have become a Beijinger, and today I'm pretty well entrenched in the contemporary art movement, although we decided, my husband and I, to create a space in downtown Los Angeles where we could truly bring the work to the West and partake in some sort of cross-cultural program. This is Peking University Lake. Peking University was the first location that I started studying Chinese, and was there for 2 years. And throughout the city, I was, of course, it was the first time going to China, very impressed by, as many foreigners are, the beauty of the Chinese culture and traditional landscapes, the architecture, buildings, and of course the sights, sounds, and the taste of the city in general. This is not on campus, but it was a home in a very small park that was owned, or not owned, but rented by the head of, I believe, Sun Oil Company. And at 5 o'clock, I love this little park. I used to go and walk around it quite often. And unfortunately, I apologize. Many of the more important photographs I've had since 2001 in Beijing are in Beijing. So I had to draw from just the images that I have with me now. So this park was open to the public during the day, and at night, at 5 o'clock, it was totally private. So they had a few homes that were older traditional Bhutan homes, courtyard homes, I should say, that remain intact today. In fact, there were several of them that were being bought by American corporations for work and for play. These were I just wanted to get a quick cross-section of giving you an image of some of the things that, all of the sites in Beijing that I would see on a daily basis. I mean, most all of the buildings were covered in green wrap, and destruction and renovation and transformation in this quest for modernization in Beijing was taking place throughout the city. At one time, I was told that there were more cranes in Beijing than anywhere else in the world. I first lived in Haidian district, which is the university district, and I was very good student and was just completely immersed in learning about this culture and learning the language for the first 2 years there. However, because I have been in my past a published photographer, I was, of course, trying as much as possible to get over to the other side of town, which was on the west, to document images of what I noticed were changes taking place. And I have a whole series of billboard photos, and one I couldn't help but want to put this one in it because it says, as you can see, Beijing First Courtyard Residence, which is a bit of a parody on the original courtyard homes that they were destroying and tearing down. So this was, of course, as Henry was pointing out, myriad of developments that were happening every day in every way. Names were being given to all of these developments, such as Orange County, Yosemite, CEO, Blue Noble Land, and I think one of the funniest ones I ever saw, and I don't have a photo of it, was Colorful Fairyland. Van Gogh Park, as an example. And I would be moving in the city with friends that were Chinese, and I would ask them, for example, what are these billboards saying in Chinese? Because at that point, my Chinese was really quite bad. And she said they make no sense. They have absolutely no sense at all. So it was interesting to me that they not only did not make sense about the transformation that was taking place, they didn't make any sense to them in language. This is tearing down the old and replacing the new. So you will see buildings that have been there since the Cultural Revolution, the style of architecture, and then billboards placed on top of them of what was to come, the new transformation. Outside of the university life that I truly loved and enjoyed, we were first introduced to the artist village called Songzhuang Xiaopuzun, and it housed over 300 artists, plus or minus, some of them extremely well known, such as Yuan Jun or Fang Jun, as well as those that are emerging and quite unknown and never will be known. So in this artist village, when we were going there, it was very uncomfortable road to get there, lots of dirt, very difficult to find, and yet at a certain point along the way, we'd go out there on every weekend basis, and you'd see these cafes and artist houses and restaurants starting to get into the language and the dialogue of wanting to have a restaurant that was a bit on the chic side, and yet, as you can see, the view on the outside was a little bit less than what you would expect in a very chic and happening cultural metropolis. Along with Xiaopuzun village, there were outcroppings of Factory 798, which I'll come back to, were happening all over the city and then on the east side. And this I found to be quite funny. You might appreciate it, Henry. There's a new artist village about 10 minutes away from 798 called Quantier, and it's also near the East End village, Chaochangdi. Now, I went there because when I was trying to help preserve the Dashansa 798 factory area, we were looking at many different places to entertain the idea of having a gallery in Beijing as well as perhaps Los Angeles. And I found this to be quite ironic that we went to this location and met with the so-called owner or real estate agent and asked about some of the spaces that were becoming available, and this was all very raw. And this was the architectural plan we had for it. There was nothing more. This was it. Someone had designed and drawn on a piece of paper this building with whatever that is up above it, and then just the lots where all the studios would be. And now, this area, this was during the construction of this, and now this is right along the road where the Chinese Museum of Film is located. And now, this was under construction at this time, and I think this was like 2005. To this day, now you have those studios that was on that architectural map is housed by an artist or a gallery or a coffee shop or whatever. So Quantier has become an extension of 798. Concrete, gray bricks, and an airplane hangar. This is pretty much what it had looked like for several years that I had been there. And Quantier, I think, went up in about 1.5 years at the most. This photo here was designed as one of the old airplane hangars. And they set it up as a huge, I think it was a Korean gallery who now occupies that space. I mean, these were massive, massive spaces that they had never seen before, and they didn't really know how to section it and utilize it. They just thought bigger was better, because at that time, artists, as many people have already said, were creating works that were larger than life and nowhere to go except museums. My role with Factory 798 came about because I met Robert Burnell, who is the editor and publisher of Timezone 8 books. And Robert was one of the first residents in Dachauer. And even to this day, Robert has built a little mini empire of not only his contemporary art bookstore, he has a location in Shanghai, but he has created a wonderful cafe and probably one of the best restaurants in Beijing. So Robert and I started talking about 798, the artists that lived there, and how interesting it would be to do a book project about this, to document this area, because at that time, I have a very strong love of reuse of space and architecture and preservation. So I saw these incredible Bauhaus-style structures and realized at any moment there was a wrecking ball hanging over them because the Chinese government wanted to turn the area into a Silicon Valley. So a group of us got together and collectively came together with this idea, the concept of doing a book that would document 798, and perhaps the idea of saving this area. And it was successful. We printed 5,000 copies of the book, and today it's sold out. There's a second book out now that Bombay did separately. But my involvement was so passionate that I was able to work with Robert and Bombay in a very concrete way. It was probably one of the most brilliant times to be in Beijing, and this was in 2004. At the time, I was living in Beijing, planning a wedding of my own back here in California. So basically, I had to do all of that arranging from Beijing. But the book project was magnificent because we were actually creating a monster. Ai Weiwei did an interview for our book, and one of the things he said was, if you really want to preserve 798, you should destroy it. Today, basically, most of the artists that first moved to that area have relocated to other outside outcroppings of art villages because it did become a monster. There was no control, there was no cohesive thread about the types of enterprises that would come into the area. So in their laissez-faire attitude about it, unfortunately, it got a little bit watered down in its original meaning. So most of the artists, if you want to go to 798 to see the most famous artists, they're not going to be there. They needed to go and hide somewhere so they could actually create work. But when we worked on this book project, as I said, it was under the wrecking ball. And what we found to be quite unusual is in the last 2 years leading up to the Beijing Olympics, the government decided it was put on the high list of preservation areas for the must-see spot to go to in Beijing. This is a view. Rain happens a lot, chemically, not naturally, usually in Beijing. They shoot the clouds with chemicals, and I've never experienced riding on a bike with acid rain in your face as much as I have in Beijing. It's this picture on the, I guess it's your left, is the view from my home in Beijing, which faces Chang'an Park. And that park became incredibly more and more beautiful the closer we got to the Beijing Olympics. Of course, that entrance that you're looking at, in my view, is the most beautiful entrance, period, because it's looking out into the vast older buildings in that area, and it's the largest patch of green that you can possibly imagine. The other picture here on the right is a previous home that we were renting in Sunshine 100. And that was a view that I just loved because it shows what Beijing might look like at night in the mist and in the rain. I actually saw many buildings around this area being constructed at the same time. Construction workers unfortunately falling to their death because they have no support system, no safety regulations provided for them. So, Dashanzi in 2005, the largest and in my estimation the best gallery there is Galleria Continua, and this was one of their opening shows that they had. Galleria Continua has just last year opened also outside an area in France, in the countryside. And they do extremely progressive, conceptually driven art shows and exhibitions, and everyone wants to go to their space to see it, not only because it's one of the largest spaces. This was before Yulin Center came, not only because it's grand and it's unusual and beautiful, they have the most spectacular exhibitions, and their food is great because it's coming directly from Italy. So as you can see, people on that side, in back of that wall, it's always the food, and everyone heads right to there. I just wanted to give you a little bit more personal journey into who I am and what we do in Beijing. And this is Qian Sheng, our manager in Beijing, and his young and beautiful bride, and they were married about 2 years ago, and they work with all of our operations there. This is, I thought, quite unusual. It's one of the only photographs that I had of the cover of the Beijing book that we worked on, and it was during, I think, a big art fair in Beijing at the time, and this is in Dashanzi, and I thought, what a great picture. We worked so hard and so passionately about this book, and we're so excited about it, and there's this young woman trying to sell the book but practically falling asleep, so a study in contrast. Just, my life in Beijing from 2001, where I was extremely driven and taken by the traditional and the history of China because of my personal involvement and my Chinese family. It's quite unusual to go from one evening or one afternoon to the most traditional restaurants. And here in Marion Ray were two people that I actually had to come back to Los Angeles and make a presentation to them, to talk to them about coming on board to do a futures section of the Beijing 798 book. And they brought 24 of their graduate students to Dashanzi. And in, I think, 13 days, they had covered the entire area, and that makes up the middle portion of that book because it was phased into past, which was all in Chinese and black and white, and archival photographs and articles, and then present, which was all color, and all the artists or companies and people who lived and worked in 798, and lots of articles from many of the foreign journalists and professionals that I had invited to come on board, and then the middle section, which was the future, which was designed by them. To today, this is just an image of the interior of the Morono Kiang Gallery, and it was taken during the inaugural exhibition that we had last May. And this scroll in the plexiglass is a piece from Xubing and Marshall Weber and Elena Perez that worked on a collaborative project together. And in our first exhibition, we were very fortunate to launch with three of the most famous artists from China. One is Xubing, Hong Hao, and Xie Xiaozi. So I think leading up to that, right now the gallery has, since July, exhibit with Shashing, and excuse me, both of these artists, it's the first time that they're exhibiting in the gallery or anywhere in the United States. The final exhibit that we have coming up November and December is with Xie Xiaozi again, who opened with us last year, and it's we have a body of work from these artists that are very ingrained in politics and the news and media and how it is shown in their work. So I think, you know, it's self-explanatory. I purposely did not want to show any work from the gallery so that I would be able to invite you to come see it personally. And I think that as far as what we've done in this space in a year's time, I'm very happy with. We're getting recognized and critical acclaim for the space as well as the work that's coming to us. And we're just trying to open up a dialogue between Asia and the United States, the Western world, and helping people here become more comfortable and more educated about the art, because I'm really quite surprised to see the comments that are coming to me when they come to see our shows, that they had no idea this kind of art is created here. So with that, I will close, and I thank you very much for your kind listening.